and today I'm talking about parent deportation and effects that Mexican American children have on it. So, Talvar Misra said, from the child's perspective, the parent had simply disappeared one day after going to work or dropping him or her off at school about deportation. Deportation can be a very devastating event for a child. However, as the topic of Mexican immigration is politically discussed more and more, deportation has become even more common. When the events of deportation happen, the children can either be Mexican, in which they are deported along with their parents, or they can be Mexican American. When the children are Mexican American, their parents are forced to make a decision to either take their child back to Mexico and possibly hold them back from the opportunities that the U.S. has to offer, or leave the child in the care of the state or with a distant family member. Many times, the parent chooses to leave their child in the U.S. thinking it is the best thing for the child. However, it is not always the case. The event of deportation of an illegal parent can lead to a series of uncontrollable events that can happen to Mexican American children that stay in the U.S., such as becoming depressed, getting involved in crime, having lower academic success, failure, and to attain a professional job. It has been argued that the Mexican American children are not more depressed than any other children. However, L.J. Govis conducted a study to support their hypothesis that the mental health of the Mexican children is significantly worse than children of any other race. The study examined 83 participants, in which 33 were not undergoing deportation proceedings, and the other 49 participants had suffered from a parent or both parents being deported. The study concluded that Mexican American children do in fact struggle more with depression, anxiety, and trouble communicating more than any other children do. About 42 of the children who had been affected by deportation and depression, in comparison to only 20% of the children who had not directly been affected by depression. In addition to a greater chance of depression among Mexican American children, they also seem to have a greater difficulty communicating properly. They feel as they have to hide what they're going through. The reason that Mexican American children can have trouble communicating about their problems is due to the fact that they are afraid. In particular, children are afraid that they will be deported if people know what happened to their parents. Holding on to these problems and not talking about them is what can lead to cause psychological problems in a child. So, the high levels of depression that these children suffer with and their inability to communicate can lead them to have a lack of enthusiasm or even worse in some cases, death. It is known that depression in worst case scenarios can cause suicidal thoughts. When these thoughts start to happen and increase in occurrence, these thoughts can be converted into action, which is why it is important for people to get treated displaying symptoms and signs of depression. If depression is not severe, the child can still experience a lack of enthusiasm to succeed, which prevents children and young adults from taking advantage of their education and achieve academically. Studies have shown that Latinos will not only have the lowest end-of-year grades, but also have the worst academic attitudes to compare to other races. The poor academic attitudes that Mexican American students experience is what affects them and leads them to doing poorly in school. This not only affects the American school system, but also the students. The Mexican American students are then either discouraged by school or did not perform well enough in high school to get into a higher educational institution. The students are discouraged by their bad grades that they receive and do not think it is worth to either apply to college or university. Other students were just not able to get a good GPA in order to go to a higher educational institution. This then leads to a lack of degree and inability to get a professional job. Their inability to obtain a professional job can lead into a life of poverty or living from paycheck to paycheck, but never having enough. This then leads them to crime. They need to try and find another way to support themselves, and at the time of their life, the struggle, if it is not only easier, but also faster for them to turn to drugs, theft, and prostitution as a way to obtain more income. As immigration and deportation become a greater and greater issue in this country, it is necessary to explore all aspects of deportation. As one begins to explore deportation, how it would be the best thing for the country or how it would affect it negatively, it is hard to ignore the subject of U.S. citizen children of immigrant parents. As this subject is explored, it is found that the country is left with children that have psychological problems, such as but not limited to depression, anxiety, and lack of motivation, which in return can lead to uneducated citizens, unemployment, crime, involvement. As Oscar Wilde said, it looks carelessness to lose both parents and it can be prevented, then it should. So thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you all enjoyed it.
Thank you.